Whispers of the Riviera. Chapter 1, The Stranger on the Balcony. The golden light of the French Riviera bathed the stone villa, in soft warmth, as Isabella Marten, heiress to the Marten wine legacy, leaned on the wrought iron balcony of her family estate. The scent of lavender drifted up from the hills below, but her heart was elsewhere, buried under the weight of her father's passing and the chaos he left behind. Her peace was broken by the sound of a motorbike rumbling to a stop at the gate. She narrowed her eyes. He was early, and much too handsome to be a lawyer. Luca Devereux removed his helmet with one smooth motion. Dark tousled hair, stormy grey eyes, and a jaw that looked carved from stone. He wasn't a solicitor, he was danger wrapped in elegance. She descended the marble staircase cautiously, heart quickening. "You must be Miss Marten," he said in a deep, accented voice that brushed against her skin like velvet. "And you are?" she asked, keeping her arms folded tightly. "Luca Devereux, your father's business partner." Her breath caught. "Impossible. My father never mentioned a Devereux." A glint of something unreadable flashed in his eyes. "There are many things your father never told you." Chapter 2, The Vineyard Contract. Within a week, Isabella's world unraveled. According to Luca, her father had entered a secret partnership, mortgaging half the vineyard to fund an experimental wine. Luca held the paperwork and the power. She wanted to hate him, but when he walked through the vineyard with his sleeves rolled up, hands in the soil, lips whispering in fluent French to the workers, she couldn't deny he belonged here. Late one evening, she found him in the old cellar, shirt damp with sweat, cradling a bottle of her father's last vintage. "He believed in dreams." Luca said softly, eyes on the bottle. "He believed in yours, too. I don't even know what mine are anymore." He looked at her then, not with pity, but with fire. "Then let's find them." Chapter 3, A Kiss in the Rain. The summer storm came without warning. Rain hammered the earth, soaking them as they tried to top the grape crates. She slipped, but he caught her, strong arms around her waist, his breath hot against her cheek. "I'm not letting go," he whispered. She should have pulled away. Instead, she kissed him. And the world tilted. Chapter 4, The Truth Unveiled. Just as love blossomed between them, a letter arrived. Hidden in a drawer. Her father's handwriting. A confession. Luca had once tried to buy the land, before the partnership. Her father had refused. Luca had charmed his way back in. Betrayal. She slapped him across the face when he entered the villa that night. "You played me. I wanted your land." He admitted. "At first. But then. I wanted you. Only you." Tears blurred her eyes. "How can I believe that?" He stepped forward, pulling out a velvet box. Inside, not a ring, but a silver pendant. Her father's. The one he always wore. "He left this for you. Said it was time you chose your own future." Chapter 5, The Choice. Days passed. She walked the vineyard alone. Every memory whispered his name. Every vine echoed her father's faith in her. When the harvest festival arrived, she wore the pendant. Luca was leaving. Bags packed. Heart heavy. But as he reached the bike, she was there. "I choose my own future," she said, breathless. "With you in it." And under the starlit sky, between rows of ripened grapes and dreams reborn, she kissed him like she'd never let him go again. Chapter 6, The Return to Chateau Rosé. The festival lights twinkled like stars as Isabella and Luca entered the courtyard of Chateau Rosé together. Whispers followed them, the heiress and the outsider, arm in arm. But Isabella didn't flinch. She wasn't the uncertain woman from weeks ago. She had made her choice. And it was him. They danced beneath garlands of summer roses, the melody of violins floating through the warm air. Luca held her close, his eyes never straying from hers. I still don't know how I earned this second chance. He murmured. You didn't. She teased, her smile soft. You're still on trial. He leaned in, lips brushing her ear. Then I'll spend every day proving myself guilty of falling for you. Chapter 7, The Storm Beneath the Vines. But paradise, she knew, never lasted long. At dawn, a sleek black car pulled up the gravel road. Out stepped a woman with power in her stride and venom in her smile, Genevieve Armand, a Parisian investor, and Luca's former fiancée. You didn't tell her, did you? Genevieve purred, brushing a gloved hand down Luca's chest. About us? Isabella froze. Luca's expression darkened. That ended years ago. But not the deal we made. Genevieve said, her gaze shifting to Isabella. You promised me the land if I backed your vineyard project in Tuscany. Isabella felt the ground tilt. Is that true? She asked quietly. Luca looked torn. It was, before I knew you. Before I cared. That deal is still legal. Genevieve added, holding up a contract. Unless someone here is willing to pay me out. With that, she turned, leaving nothing but silence, and a storm of mistrust behind her. Chapter 8, The Fracture. Isabella sat on the terrace, the scent of crushed roses heavy in the air. I wanted to believe you. She said as Luca approached. But there's always someone else. Something else. I was desperate. He said. For a future. For freedom. And now. I'm desperate for you. Her eyes shimmered with unshed tears. I don't know if I can do this again, Luca. He took her hand, knelt, and pressed her palm to his chest. Then don't choose me because of what I say. Choose me because of what we are when we are together. But she turned away, heart aching. Sometimes, love wasn't enough. Not yet. Chapter 9, Letters and Lavender. A week passed. Luca left. And Isabella drowned herself in harvest work, her hands stained with grapes and her soul heavy with regret. Until she found the letter. Tucked inside her father's old journal. Isabella. If you ever doubt the man who walks beside you, remember this. I saw a fire in his heart that matched yours. Yes, he came for the land. But he stayed for something more. You. Forgive. Love. Live. Tears streamed down her face. She ran, through the vineyard, down the hills into town, her breath catching as she reached the train station. But the platform was empty. Gone. Chapter 10, The Vow Beneath the Vines. 3 days later, the vineyard was silent. The sky was the color of pewter. Isabella walked through the rows, mourning love lost. Then she heard it. The sound of a motorbike. She turned, and there he was. Luca. Dusty, tired, beautiful. You came back. She whispered. No. He said. I never left. I just went to Paris, to buy back your land from Genevieve. He held up the torn contract. I gave up everything. For you. Her heart broke open. And under the heavy lavender sky, she threw herself into his arms. I was always yours. She whispered against his lips. And as the wind stirred the vines around them, two souls finally found the peace they had both been aching for. To love truly is to risk deeply. And sometimes, love returns, stronger, wiser, and ready to stay. Vows of Tuscany. A sequel to Whispers of the Riviera. Chapter 1, A Wedding Without Vows. The sun bathed the Tuscan hills in warm amber light, and the scent of blooming lemon trees clung to the breeze like a memory. In a villa draped in ivy and lace, guests gathered. Champagne sparkled. Musicians tuned violins. And inside a grand stone chamber, Isabella Marten stared into a mirror, wearing her mother's wedding gown. But her heart wasn't calm. Outside, Luca Devereux stood at the altar, watching every guest take their seat. His tie was perfect, his suit pressed, but something gnawed at him. They had everything. Except the vows. Because Isabella hadn't written hers. And she hadn't said yes. Not yet. Chapter 2, A Shadow in White. In the dressing room, Isabella's cousin, Vivienne Marten, burst through the door. "There's a man asking for you." She whispered, pale. "He says he knew your father. And he knows something about Luca." Isabella's breath caught. "What?" Vivienne handed her a note. "Just 5 words. He was never truly yours." Her fingers trembled. Outside, guests shifted. The priest glanced at his watch. And Luca waited. But inside, Isabella felt the walls close in. What if love wasn't enough? What if trust was already broken? Again? Chapter 3, The Man from Rome. Isabella found him beneath the olive trees. Tall. Silver-haired. A scar across his cheek. A Roman detective named Marco d'Angelo. He sold the same land twice. Marco said calmly. First to your father. Then to a banker in Milan. Her eyes widened. That's not possible. Oh, it is. And Luca knows. Chapter 4, The Runaway Bride. The bells began to ring. Guests rose. Music swelled. But Isabella didn't come. Instead, she fled, barefoot across the stones, gown billowing behind her, toward the vineyard where her childhood dreams had lived and died and lived again. And behind her, Luca. Isabella. He called, breathless. Please, don't run. She turned, hair wild, eyes blazing. Tell me the truth. No poetry. No vineyard metaphors. Just truth. He stepped forward, heart in his throat. I made a mistake. Years ago. Before your father trusted me. Before I knew how to love right. She waited. I lost everything for you. I'd do it again. Chapter 5, A Vineyard in Autumn. 3 weeks later, Tuscany was quieter. The wedding had been called off. Not cancelled, just postponed. Because Isabella needed to rebuild something first. Not just trust, but her own heart. Luca gave her space. Every day he worked the land, pruning vines and waiting. And one morning, as the first leaf of autumn fell, she returned. With vows in her hand. Chapter 6, The Second First Kiss. On a quiet hill overlooking the valley, they stood with no priest, no crowd, no music. Just the two of them. Isabella read aloud. You once said you'd never let go. So now I say this. I won't run again. Not from truth. Not from fear. Not from you. Luca's voice cracked as he whispered. And I vow to love you in silence, in storms, in scandal, and in seasons. To never lie again. And to always come back. They sealed the second first kiss under the cypress trees, where vows were made not in churches, but in hearts. In Tuscany, under vines soaked in history and hope, two lovers chose not just each other, but the honesty that makes love endure. Secrets of Sicily. A passionate tale of betrayal, legacy, and a love that defies borders. Chapter 1, The Letter That Shouldn't Exist. One golden afternoon in Sicily, Isabella and Luca strolled through the crumbling ruins of a sun-drenched monastery, hand in hand. They were finally at peace. Newly married. Happily settled. The vineyard was thriving, and whispers of a child danced between them like wind among olive trees. But then the letter arrived. A yellowed envelope, postmarked Palermo. Written in her father's hand. Postmarked a year after his death. Isabella stared at it, unable to breathe. Luca opened it slowly, and together they read. My dearest daughter. If this letter reaches you, it means the secret is no longer safe. Go to the town of Cefalù. Ask for the librarian. There you'll learn the truth about the vineyard. And about your real mother. Isabella's knees buckled. My real mother? Luca caught her. And the earth shifted beneath them once more. Chapter 2, Cefalù's Whispering Walls. The town of Cefalù clung to the cliffs like a secret itself, winding alleys, ancient mosaics, and too many shadows. At the edge of the town stood the old monastery library. And in it, a woman with hair like snow and eyes of steel. She called herself Signora Donatella. You are the daughter of Celeste Ferrara, she said without blinking. Not Juliet Marten. Celeste was a Sicilian artist. Your father took you from here when she died under suspicious circumstances. Isabella's voice cracked. Why would he lie to me? Because Celeste's family was powerful. And dangerous. Luca stepped forward. Are they still alive? The librarian's silence was answer enough. Chapter 3, The Man in the Shadows. That night, in their seaside inn, Isabella couldn't sleep. Waves crashed. Her thoughts were louder. And then came the knock. Luca opened the door. And froze. A tall man stood in the moonlight, silver cufflinks gleaming. His face familiar. Luca, he said smoothly, in flawless Italian. You've married into something ancient. You don't know who she really is. But I do. Isabella stepped forward. Who are you? He smiled. Your uncle. Chapter 4, The Bloodline Pact. The next morning, over bitter Sicilian espresso, Giovanni Ferrara told them everything. Celeste, Isabella's mother, had been the last female heir to the Ferrara bloodline, a dynasty rooted in noble lineage and dangerous secrets. She didn't die in childbirth. He said. She was killed. Poisoned by someone who feared her child would inherit the vineyard. And something else. What else? Isabella whispered. A key. Hidden beneath the Sicilian soil. And you, Isabella, are the only one who can claim it. Chapter 5, The Kiss Before the Fall. Luca was silent for hours afterward. She found him at the cliffs near the abbey, wind tugging at his hair. Tell me what you're thinking. She pleaded. He turned to her, eyes fierce. I swore I'd protect you. But I can't fight a blood feud I don't understand. I'm a winemaker, Isabella. Not a soldier. She cupped his face. You're my soldier. And we'll fight it together. Their kiss was slow, heavy with fear and fire. A promise. A goodbye to peace. Because whatever lay beneath the Sicilian soil, it was waiting. In the land of ruins and revelations, Isabella must uncover her family's buried legacy, and fight to keep the love that was nearly lost once before. The heir of Palermo. A story of inheritance, danger, and a love tested by fire and legacy. Chapter 1, The Masked Stranger. Palermo glittered beneath the moonlight like a jewel set in darkness. Its streets buzzed with whispers of the past, secrets locked in vaults and hearts alike. In the heart of the old city, a masked charity gala was being held in the ancient Palazzo Bella Vista. Chandeliers shimmered. Laughter echoed. And Isabella Devereux, now a woman of fire and silk, stood poised in a crimson gown, eyes hidden behind lace. Beside her, Luca scanned the crowd. Ever protective. Ever watching. Their mission. Find the man who called himself the heir, a ghost from Isabella's mother's bloodline, said to be hunting the key hidden beneath the Ferrara lands. He appeared at midnight. Mask of black velvet. A silver ring with the Ferrara crest. And when he took her hand to dance, his words chilled her. You wear the crown of a bloodline soaked in betrayal. But you do not yet know its cost. Chapter 2, The Vault Beneath the Garden. The next morning, guided by Giovanni Ferrara and an old map from Celeste's paintings, Isabella and Luca uncovered a hidden door in the garden ruins of the Ferrara estate. They descended into a cold stone vault. What they found wasn't gold, but documents. Maps. A ledger detailing secret alliances, affairs, even assassinations committed in the Ferrara name. And at the bottom of the chest, wrapped in faded silk, an engagement ring belonging not to Isabella's father, but a man named Marcello Vittorio. Her mother's true love. Isabella's hands shook. Then my father. Luca looked away. He may have taken more than just you from her. Chapter 3, Love in the Crosshairs. Days later, their villa was burned to the ground. A message was carved into the stone gate. One heir. One key. One must fall. Luca pushed Isabella behind him, his gun drawn for the first time since they'd arrived in Sicily. I will not lose you. He said, voice trembling. Not to the past. Not to blood. She touched his cheek. You won't lose me. But we might have to lose everything else. They fled Palermo under aliases, hiding in a remote olive farm owned by a friend of Luca's, Giulia, a fierce widow with eyes like steel and secrets of her own. Chapter 4, The Widow's Warning. Giulia served them bread and fear in equal measure. You should never have come back. She said, pouring bitter wine. Your blood ties you to things you do not understand. What is the key for? Isabella asked. Giulia's fingers froze over her cup. It unlocks the packed room. Where your ancestors bound themselves to power, with names that haven't been spoken in generations. Luca stood. Then we destroy it. Giulia's eyes narrowed. Then it destroys you. Chapter 5, The Betrayal. It was Luca's idea to meet the heir again. He left in the night. He didn't come back. Isabella waited until dawn. Her chest hollow. And then a courier arrived, with Luca's ring and a note written in a familiar, sharp hand. We all make choices. He made his. Come to the chapel of dust at sunset, alone. Isabella clenched the note. She was done running. The past would no longer chase her. Now she would hunt it. In a city of shadows and ancient pacts, Isabella must decide if love can survive the truth, or if her inheritance must be paid for with everything she holds dear. Chapter 6, The Chapel of Dust. The sun dipped low behind the mountains, casting long, blood-red shadows across the stones of Chiesa di Senior, the Chapel of Dust. A long-abandoned ruin outside Palermo, it reeked of age, silence, and secrets. Isabella stood at the threshold, wind catching the hem of her coat, her heart heavy with fear and fury. Inside, The chapel glowed dimly with candles. And there, at the altar once used for vows and funerals alike, stood the heir. Beside him, bound to a column by a chain of polished iron, was Luca. His shirt was torn, but his spirit wasn't. Don't come closer. He warned. I came for you. Isabella whispered. The heir turned, removing his mask. And Isabella gasped. It was not a stranger. It was Marcello Vittorio, the man her mother had once loved. Still alive. You're supposed to be dead? He finished, calm. Like so many truths in your family's history. Chapter 7, Marcello's story. Marcello's voice echoed off the stone walls. Your father and I were rivals, Isabella. Not just in business, but in love. Celeste chose me. We were going to run away. But before we could, she was poisoned. And your father claimed you, and buried me with her memory. He stepped closer. I disappeared into the shadows. Built a network. And waited for the Ferraras to come home. Isabella's throat tightened. You think I owe you vengeance? I think you owe me what's mine. Marcello pointed to a silver key hanging around her neck. The packed room. Chapter 8, Fire and Ashes. You don't know what's in that room. Luca growled, blood at the corner of his mouth. I know enough. Marcello hissed. Power. Titles. The final testament of the Ferrara line. Isabella pulled the key from her neck. I'll give it to you. She said, voice steady. But not because I fear you. Because I pity you. Marcello reached forward. But the moment his fingers brushed the key, she threw it into the brazier beside the altar. Flames leapt. No. He roared, lunging. Luca broke his restraints in the chaos, tackling Marcello into the pews. They fought, old vengeance against new love, until Isabella found the iron rod and struck Marcello across the shoulder. He fell, unconscious. Smoke curled toward the ceiling. Luca pulled her close. You burned your inheritance. He whispered. She looked up, fierce and radiant. I kept us. Chapter 9, The Legacy Rewritten. The next morning, as sirens wailed in the distance and the chapel lay in smoldering ruin, Isabella and Luca sat on the cliffside. There's no pact. She said. No vault. No crown. Luca smiled, brushing her hair behind her ear. You were never meant to inherit a throne. You were meant to build something new. They left Palermo that night. Together. And behind them, the ashes of centuries-old secrets were carried away on the Sicilian wind. In choosing love over legacy, Isabella finally found the future her mother dreamed of, a life unchained by blood, and a heart truly free. Epilogue, Roots of a New Beginning. 3 years later. A sunlit vineyard in southern Italy. Not inherited. But built. The land was humble compared to Chateau Rosé. The house smaller, the vines younger. But to Isabella Devereux, every stone, every olive tree, every bottle of wine they pressed with their bare hands was theirs. She stood barefoot in the soil, a straw hat over her long, wind-blown hair, one hand resting gently on the curve of her belly. Their daughter would be born in the harvest season. Luca approached from the hillside, a basket of figs in one hand, a smudge of dust across his cheek. You'll overwork yourself. He teased. Again. She smirked. I'm not pruning vines. I'm waiting. For what? For the first blossom on the Ferrara rootstock. They had planted it months ago, after retrieving a single cutting from the ruins near Palermo, a symbolic piece of her past, now rooted in her future. He leaned in, kissed her softly. She'll have your fire, he said, resting his hand over hers on her belly. And your stubbornness, she replied. They looked out over the land. No grand estates, no ancient blood feuds, just love, growth, peace, behind them was legacy, before them, life, The greatest love stories aren't inherited, they are planted, nurtured, and grown together.